Well, here we are at the Fishing World's Fishing Fair. We're at a big seminar. I got Jimmy Houston, I got Bill Dance, I got Rick Clunn,
hey, Roland,
Kevin VanDam.
Look at these guys we got up here. We got these old guys up here. I tell you, these guys, don't you remember you and I sitting together watching Bill Dance and Ricky Clunn fishing on television? We learned so much from these guys, didn't we? We learned so much from these guys.
Boy, this is a crowded room. Hey, Ricky, what you doing, son? I'm doing a little video and all this stuff. Oh, we got.
Is everybody having fun here at the World Fishing Fair this weekend? Yeah. Well, I've got a real special treat for you here. It is really special for me to be on the side of the stage. I get to moderate a seminar. My fishing heroes, legends. I think all of us, you know, we've. Here goes Jimmy again. Hi, David. Bill never stops. To be able to control this group right here is pretty tough. The only guy that's easy is this guy right here, Rick Clunn. So I learned everything that I know about pattern fishing. This guy did more to teach me about tournament fishing than probably about anybody. This guy right here taught me more. I did my first term paper on his book, 101 Bass Catching Secrets, when I was in school. Kept me out of trouble. Jimmy Houston taught me how to throw spinnerbait, and Bill has taught me everything for about 40 years. I've been watching him on television, so it's my honor, my pleasure to be able to be here at the 50th anniversary of Bass Pro Shops, to have true legends on the stage here. So give them all a big round of applause.
I think David learned pretty good, don't you? I believe he learned pretty good.
Well, I have learned a lot from him. I think we all have. That's why we got such a great crowd here to show up, because, man, you just think of all the history. One of my favorite things, still to this day, is the Bill Dance bloopers. I love those bloopers. The question I got to ask, Bill, are those bloopers real, or did you fake some of them?
Oh, I faked them all. That's why I'm limping and I got bruises all over me.
He did.
One of my favorites was him fishing underneath that cypress tree with the giant wasp nest on it, huh?
I don't think you faked that one.
On one bite.
13 strikes on one bite.
Hey, he also, let's see, how do you turn this thing on?
It's not on.
Roland, they got you turned off on purpose.
Oh.
He's broken already, Mac.
Come in.
It's his house.
This is not.
We'll get Roland a new mic here.
I told him if they turned his microphone on, he'd lie to you.
No, he didn't. No, Bill didn't fake that one where the snake fell in the tree. No.
No, that's
Yeah,
That was
it.
real. Yeah.
I want the good one.
And also when the time he fell, when he fell in the water, I know he didn't fake that one because he had a $2,000 microphone in his pocket. I know that was real.
Yeah.
That was a real one.
Bill is a blooper ready to happen.
How did you say that?
You just about fell off a chair. What do you mean? How did I say that?
Exactly.
You sat on a chair and he just about fell on his butt. And he might before it's over. He don't even drink.
See, I knew this would happen. The knowledge sitting here,
Lost control.
and the history that we have sitting here, all of these guys are Hall of Famers. If you have not gone through the Wonders of Wildlife Museum and gone through the Professional Bass Fishing Hall of Fame, there's so much history there. Obviously, the museum, the aquarium is amazing in itself, but the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame room, and that alone is worth the price of admission to me as a fan of the sport. So much of you'll see a lot of the stuff from there. So much of the history of tournament fishing and of bass fishing is there. So definitely something, if you have not made that trip through the museum, you definitely want to do that. But I want to get some knowledge out of these guys right here. So when I first kicked off the week here at the World's Fishing Fair, I got to do a seminar with these guys, and we got to kind of talk about some of our favorite fishing memories. But Rick was driving in. We had some storms the first day, and he was a little late, so we didn't get to have Rick here. So we're going to kind of relive a little bit of that. We're going to chat, because these guys have so many different great stories, and they have so much history together. We're going to kind of go through that as well. And plus, I'd like to get a few questions from the audience, too, things that you'd like for these gentlemen right here, because how rare is it to get a group like these four right here on the stage at one time? Pretty dang special deal. And you know, Rick, I'm going to start with you because we didn't get you the other day like that. And we all have things that we look back on, you know, things you can look back on your career, favorite memories, and I was just blown away by what I heard the other day. So I want to, right off the top here, I want to have you, one of your favorite memories that you've experienced over your career, which is one of the greatest in all time, you know, the history of bass fishing, without a doubt. 4-time classic champion, and then he's won everything.
And y'all all know that's a tough question, but there is one that stands out. Even though Bill Dance broke my heart when he quit competitive fishing, because I started, we're all, like Kevin said earlier, we're all products of what came before us. We took a little piece of them, a little piece of them. Bill and Roland, and they chopped through the jungle first, okay? They were the pioneers. And then a few of us, it was a little easier. We had a little bit of a path. We could chop our way through the jungle, and then those that came behind us had a better one. But still, in all those memories, one is a recent one really that sticks out to me. And it's really kind of an appropriate one, I think, for what's going on in the world, is I got to fish with George Bush Sr. Ray Scott called me, and he said, it was after I won my 3rd classic, and he said, George Bush, the president, called and wants to fish with you. Of course, Ray, I never trusted anyway. You guys know that. I didn't know if he was. I said, Ray, come on. He said, no, I'm not joking. I said, really? Where do you want me to meet him? He says, he wants you to meet him at Ellington Air Force Base in Houston. I lived close to Houston at that time. He's going to fly you on Air Force One up to my private lake in Alabama, Ray Scott's lake. My head was spinning. I mean, but anyway, I'm going to cut through a lot because the whole thing was amazing. But being 35,000 feet in Air Force One, New Year's Day, and he's calling different ambassadors over the world. But in between each call, the secretary, he had this big black tackle box on his desk. And he'd go, Mr. Ambassador, I'm so-and-so, I want to wish you blah, blah, blah. And then he'd hang up and go, well, what lure do you think we ought to be fishing today? And anyway, we finally got there to Ray's Lake, and there was a Secret Service guy every 50 yards around this 50-acre lake in a coat and tie with a little ear plug, no gun. But you look 50 yards behind him in the woods, there was a guy camouflaged with an automatic weapon. And so there's frogmen in the lake. I'm looking under my boat, looking at my tackle box. And finally we got to fish. And I fished with the president, and Ray fished with Barbara. Anyway, we're fishing, and I messed up a couple of times. 2 things happened. Finally, that frogman kept following us around in another boat, and I finally asked, I said, George, what's he following us around for? Well, they're afraid if we sink, they're going to have to save me. And I go, really? I said, what about me? He said, son, you're on your own. and then I kept going, I kept making a mistake. He'd catch a big one, and I'd go, George, that's a big one. I'm sorry, Mr. President, I'm sorry. I did that 3 times in a row. And then what he finally said to me, I'll never, ever forget. And it's so important. It's one of the best things about fishing. He finally looks over at me after I called him George 3 times in a row and apologized and said, Rick, today, you're not the world championship fisherman. I'm not the president of the United States. We're just 2 guys who love to fish.
There you go. There you go.
And that's the beauty of fishing. We're no longer a Republican. We're no longer a Democrat. We're no longer a male, female, black, white, green, whatever. We're just people who share this love of fishing. And that's
what a great story. He's exactly right. You know, it's all about the love of fishing, and man, I know all of you guys got a chance to fish with President Bush over the years. Just an amazing person. I got lucky enough to do it at Ray Scott's too, and just great memories as well. But I got a question for Roland. So this guy right here is arguably, he's the big bass specialist, right? Roland has always been known for big bass. When I grew up watching his television show, Lake Okeechobee, he's always catching 8, 9, 10 pounders like that. I want to hear the story of the biggest bass that you've ever caught, because everybody in here knows. Like yesterday,
you're telling about the
biggest
lightning.
bass you ever caught, right?
Lightning.
Remember it? We all.
Lightning.
This has got to be a doozy.
Now,
I want to hear that story.
Okay, what I want to tell you about is not the fact that I caught the fish, but I want to tell you about the biggest bass that I ever lost. A 15-pound, 12-ounce bass.
How'd you know it weighed 15, 12, he didn't catch it?
He knows.
I didn't catch it.
He knows. He
Oh,
knows.
you didn't catch it, okay.
I didn't catch it.
Keep him straight, folks.
I didn't catch the fish.
This is going to be a story.
No, but that's not the story. The story is, I'd gone out trophy bass fishing with my first wife, Marianne, on Rodman Reservoir when it was hot. We caught a lot of 10-pound bass. And I was filming with Glenn Lau, and he wanted these big bass to film with. And he said, you guys go out and catch us, try to catch a 9 or 10 pounder. I'll do some film work with it. He had that fisherman series with Homer Circle. So I had a big live tank and all these shiners, and I had 40-pound line, a big saltwater reel. Got out in the logs in Rodman, is all full of timber. I dropped the rod down, but before that, we'd set up and I was trying to get Marianne a big fish, and the 2 rods went off at the same time. One had a little bitty 2-pound bass on it, and the other had a big 10-pound bass on it, but they'd crossed over. And so I yelled at Marianne. I said, Marianne, take the one on the left, the one in front of me. She said, you're trying to trick me. You're just trying to trick me. That's your rod. I'm going to take my rod. So she picked up the one on the right, which was actually the small fish, and I had reeled in the 10-pounder. Well, now she's mad. She said, you've cheated me again. You tricked me again. I said, no, I was telling you to take the right rod. So now she's mad. She said, I'm not helping you anymore. That's it. That's the end of the road. And so now she's furiously mad. I finally get to the end of this bend on the Ocklawaha River. It's right there in the middle of Rodman. And this giant bass hit this shiner underneath the log. Late in the afternoon, the wind's blowing. I can see the fish. It's clear water. It's the biggest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's just gigantic. I said, I'm screaming at Marianne, hold the log, hold the log. I'm going to jump in and grab the fish. It's all wrapped up. And she said, the hell with you. You messed me up. You tricked me. You can... Anyway.
You heard him say ex-wife, didn't you?
So anyway, the fish broke the line. It broke off. I finally pulled hard. The next day, Dennis Ron, he had a big guide service out of Salt Springs. I was filming with Glenn again, and I told Glenn, I said, Glenn, I'll tell you, I've seen big fish. I saw this one yesterday that I lost. It broke my line. His head had been, I don't know how big. Well, he went over to fish for it, and he's within sight of us. He starts yelling and screaming. He's got a guy from Baltimore, a guide trip. They come over. He's got this bass. He puts it on the scale. We show it to Dennis. Dennis shows it to Glenn Lau and I, famous photographer. 15 pounds, 12 ounces. But that's not the end of it. The guy from Baltimore says, that caught it, says, is that a big fish? He had never caught one over 5 pounds. He wasn't even going to get it mounted. But it was the largest fish caught in Florida for 3 years. And that was the one I had. He handed me the hook back. He said, by the way, Roland, isn't this your weedless hook? And it was my weedless hook.
That's how you know it's 15, 12. So everybody loves a good big fish story. Oh, yeah. You would expect Roland to be one of the biggest. Well, believe that. Jimmy, I got one for you. So when I was growing up, I loved to throw spinnerbaits. It was you shouldn't have a favorite lure. You should use what fits the conditions. But a spinnerbait was one of my favorite baits. I learned a lot about spinnerbaits from him. Tell me the greatest day you've ever had. I want to hear the story about the greatest day you've ever had fishing a spinnerbait.
The truth.
The truth.
Bill said the truth.
This guy knows more about spinnerbaits than anybody on the planet.
You know, I actually, and I know that y'all not gonna believe this, so I probably shouldn't even throw it out there. But actually last week, when they had all those tornadoes going around through Oklahoma, I was fishing with my buddy right here from Springfield, Missouri, Jeff Shaw at O'Reilly Auto Parts, and his brother Lewis. And we fished in southern Oklahoma. And I can't tell you the lake, or these guys that could be down there fishing, I can't tell you where it is.
He didn't give away his secret.
But we actually caught 102 bass. We caught 102 fish before lunch. We caught 98 after lunch. We caught 200. We had 197 bass and 3 crappie. And I never caught any fish all day long on anything with a spinnerbait. My buddy's caught a couple on a Roland's bait, a chatterbait, and I think somebody might have caught one on a mimic, a impersonator. But we caught 200 just like last Monday. But so that's like a pretty good day. I mean, that's a pretty good day fishing. Yeah, I know that's a good start for you, Bill. 200 fish, and I think the biggest weight's 710. But you know, probably really and truly the best day as far as a memory in spinnerbait fishing would be some of the times when my kids caught big fish on spinnerbait. But there's a great man in this industry that started Ranger Boat Company, and we lost Forrest Wood a couple of years ago now. And but I fished with Forrest Wood in the first B.A.S.S tournament that I ever won on Lake Santee Cooper in 1976. Won the Angler of the Year that year, and I was with Forrest when I caught one of the I caught a big string all 3 days, but the biggest string. And having Forrest Wood net those fish, caught them all on a red man spinnerbait, and in the goat pasture, cow pasture they called it, wasn't it, on Santee? Water was so shallow nobody would go back there and fish. Nothing back there but big giant water snakes and logs and stumps and big giant bass. And caught all those. That's probably really my most memorable day because I was with Forrest Wood.
But Bill, so if we're on this theme, tell me about your favorite big fish story. Obviously, you've caught a lot of big fish in your day. I mean, one thing that I know about Bill Dance, if you watch his television show, he doesn't catch anything but big fish. So tell me about your biggest bass.
Too. I'd say it was kind of a luck deal.
Kind of a luck deal.
I was fishing up, and it was in West Tennessee. That's where I caught my biggest fish. And it was a largemouth bass. In fact, my biggest smallmouth bass came from West Tennessee. It was on the Tennessee River in Pickwick Lake. It was an 8-pound, 4-ounce smallmouth.
I caught an
it's a big
8.5.
smallmouth. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I caught 8.5.
And but anyway,
Jimmy
Okay, sick.
but anyway, he still got fever. But anyway, I'd gone up off the Ovine River. There was a big area off the Ovine, and a friend of mine had told me about this 500-acre area, and we went up, we fished it, and I'll never forget the day. It's the day Dale Earnhardt died on that particular race at Daytona. I'll never forget the day.
Sad day.
It was a sad day, and but anyway, we were fishing. I hadn't done any good. I tried shallow water, I tried deep water, I tried this, I tried that, I tried this, I tried that. I was pretty discouraged. And I came back up, and I was just kind of looking at the tree line, and I thought, fishing a plastic worm, I worked it up through there, and when you don't catch fish, you have the tendency to fish faster, and that's a mistake. People have the tendency to fish too fast. But hey, he does, but you can't argue with his success. This guy's fantastic. He goes down a bank, and he's gone. There's a mile-long stretch, and he's gone. But he catches fish, so you can't argue with his success. But anyway, fishing up this bank, and I could see where the channel needs a turnout right here off the timber. And I looked down, and I had a half-ounce spinnerbait on, full lead spinnerbait. And I had dreamed that night of Jimmy Houston, and it reflected spinnerbait. It was a nightmare. No, anyway, I looked down. I had this half-ounce spinnerbait on, and I just picked it up. And it was kind of an opening between the trees, and I just threw it out. And the river bank, or the creek bank, was 10 feet deep. So 8 to 10 feet deep, and it dropped off to about 22 in the channel. And I was just picking the bait up, letting it flutter back, picking it up, letting it flutter back. And about the third flutter, it went, oh, and I said, oh, and it went zoom, and I went, oh. And we had a zoom, zoom, boom, boom contest, and all of a sudden, we was bringing the fish out, and the fish pushed me. And I
did what?
I pull up, and he pulled down, and I pull up, and he pulled down. And he pulled, and about that time he broke free, and he came out. And I started him out to get him out in open water, and he came up on the top, and he could just barely get his head up out of the water and water. And one of the guys with us that had built the lake, he came across, and he had a Hansen digital scale. And I know it was pretty certified because it was pretty accurate. And I pulled this fish out of the water, and I said, good gracious sakes alive, look at the size of his bass. Roland Martin would be so proud of me. I said, look at this bass. And I'll tell you what, I was shaking. It was a monster, but I got him out of that top. And shirt said, we called him T-shirt. Tommy Ellis was the guy's name. We called him T-shirt. And T-shirt said, hang on a minute, hang on a minute. And he reached in his thing and he said, let me weigh it. I'll give you an accurate weight of it. What do you think it weighs? I said, I believe it weighs 12 pounds. I bet he weighs 13 pounds. He said, that fish is bigger than 13. As I sit here and look at you,
Fishermen are not liars.
but truthfully, the fish weighed 14.2. And that's a true story. Now, I told you, you've asked me before, my biggest bass, and it was 14.2. And on those digital scales, it was 14.2. On the biggest largemouth.
14.2. How about that? Roland almost on a 15-12. Jimmy, just tell me what the weight of your biggest bass is without a 20-minute story.
14.3.
14.3.
Hey, let me tell you something. I don't care what you say. If I said my smallmouth weighed 8.6, he'd say his weighed 8.7.
What about these legends right here? Give them a big round. Thanks y'all for being here. Thanks for stopping by the out.
Hey, folks, have a end of that.
Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for watching, folks. We got a great video, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.